Hi, this is 365 and I'm looking at the highest rated books that I've read. Now, I've done a video looking at the lowest rated books that I've read, and so while I'm here, I may as well look at the highest rated books as well. Once again, I'm obviously going to be looking at my Goodreads Red Shelf, which, as I said in my previous video, I'll put a link in the corner, it is only from the last maybe 2.5 years, and there aren't that many books on there. And I've read so many more. I just can't be bothered going through every single book that I've ever read and putting it on. But I might go back and do my 2019 just because I have such a comprehensive record of it. So, yeah, we're going to go through the highest rated books that I have read. It's always good to be able to compare and contrast your rating with the average rating to see how well you're rating things. I do depend actually on a lot of people's reviews and their ratings to gauge what kind of expectation I should have for a work. So I'm not going in with super high expectations. If the average is a 3.5, I'm going to think that it's an okay book and I might enjoy it, but probably not as much as something that's got a 4.5 as the average. So it is something that I think is quite good to check if you're close to your averages as well. So anyway, the first book in this list is MXTX's Heaven Official's Blessing, with a 4.73. That is ridiculously high. It's obviously all of the ratings are going to be between a 4 and a 5. It's impossible to get a 5, but that's super close. Wow. And it is kind of warranted because it's her third book. So people who are going in will have read the first two, liked the first two, and be amenable to the story. They will also read all, I think it's almost 1,500 pages. It's like War and Peace times 2 or something. Ridiculous. But at the end of it, you'll feel such a sense of accomplishment and you've gone on such a massive journey with these characters. You'll feel like it deserves a higher rating because of the slog and the challenge and the emotional fatigue. You're gonna give it a high rating. I haven't given a rating just because this is the fan translation, which I'm grateful for because for the longest time we didn't think we'd be getting anything like this published, licensed officially in English. So I'm okay with keeping this on here until I collect, and even after I collect all the official volumes as well and read through them. But it is quite a good rating. And I'm assuming her other ones will be quite high up. I can see already. The next one is Alice Oseman's Heartstopper Volume 4 and Volume 3 with a 4.68, 4.64. Also very, very high. I assume that these later volumes are higher because, once again, you've read the first, like lots of people will read the first volume and say, this isn't for me. And they'll rate it, a 3 or maybe a 4 or even lower. And they won't go on to read the rest, but the ones who liked the first volume will choose to read the later volumes. I mean, you're going to see a volume, I don't know, volume 10 or volume 11 of something, and it's going to be really high because the people who choose to keep reading something are the ones who really like it, and therefore they're going to give it a high rating. So I think it's pretty fair that 3 and 4 and 5 will probably have a high rating as well. But I did enjoy it. I now have my physical copies, so I'm very happy about that as well. I do think, as a side note, I think it would be interesting to hear a nuanced discussion about Alice Oseman with regard to BL and Yaoi, and to take all the threads of that and hear a good discussion. So if there's a podcast out there that actually discusses Alice Oseman and BL or the Fujo culture, I think it would be interesting to listen to. So if you have any recommendations, please let me know in the comments down below, because I am getting into my podcast era. It's starting. So some BL podcasts that discuss Alice Oseman would be interesting. The next one is another MXTX, and that is Modazushi, 4.63. And honestly, given the number of people who've read this and who've watched The Untamed, it is still incredibly high, because you would expect so many people there'll be some people who hated it or don't finish it or don't want to rate it. Um, and everyone loves it. The Untamed was such a big thing. The animated version was such a big thing. I mean, I absolutely loved the first season when it came out. I think it was October 2018, and I just watched it and rewatched it. I think I rewatched it maybe 3, 4, 5 times before the second um series of it, which was coming out, I think in the July, was it June or July of 2019? With just after the start of the Untamed. So the Untamed started, and then a few weeks later, the second series of Modellsicher, the animated version, started. And so I was literally 2019. My summer was the Untamed, the animated series, and reading this book as a fan translation. My whole existence was completely subsumed, was completely consumed with Modellsicher. And I think that was when I was living my best life. It was great. So yeah, I'm not surprised about how high that is. The next one is Given, Volume 2 by Kizu Natsuki, and this is also quite high, 4.62. I gave it a 4 star, but actually it's more like a 4.5, but not quite a 5 for me. I do like it. It's great. It's very competently done. It's drawn beautifully, but it doesn't give me, I think, the same kind of feels as many people who are coming into BL and thinking of this, or people who don't read BL. I think that might be it as well. That so many people are like, hey, this is a BL, and they read it and watch the anime, and they're like, wow, this is really great for BL. And I don't know why, but that doesn't really feel massively BL-ish. It's very much human drama for me. Um, yes, there is obviously some romantic feelings for men as part of the aspect to it, which I like. It's more plot driven, which I also enjoy. So I'm not surprised it's got such a high rating. Once again, some more Heartstopper there, 4.61 for Volume 2, and some more Given for Volume 5, 4.6. Then we've got one that's okay, we're gonna have to maybe talk about this. This is maybe one oh dear. This is another one that I haven't rated. I haven't rated this. This is the third book in the All for the Game series, The King's Men by Nora Sakovic, with a 4.58, which is bloody high considering what book this is. Now, I'm not going to slate it because I absolutely love the series, but I also absolutely hate it. So if I was going to rate it, you know, did not like it. I did not like it. So I could, in theory, give it a 1 star. It was okay. In parts, it was okay. In parts, it certainly was not. I liked it. Kind of. Bits of it I liked. I can't deny. And bits of it I really liked. Bits of it I really enjoyed. And bits of it was amazing. And not necessarily amazing in a good way, amazing just like the shock and awe. Imagine that image of Pikachu with mouth open. That kind of amazement. Yeah, so I'm not going to rate this. I'm not rating the series at all because I don't know what to rate it, because the experience of reading it was um, so frustrating, anger-inducing, annoying, um, traumatic, anxiety-driven. I mean, it was feels across the board, feels, and I didn't enjoy the reading experience because of that. I didn't like some of the aspects of the book at all, or the whole series, I should say. And so I don't want to rate it because I don't want to cloud the rating system. But 4.58 for me does seem quite high. But as I've said, it is like a really popular series. People love it. And I have to say, you're all bastards for creating such cute fan art and making me think this is going to be even slightly uwu. I feel like I was lied to. There's no uwu in this. There's no uwu. It's all in her Tumblr notes afterwards when they're talking about cats and stuff. That's not even part of the book. And I don't know why. Why did she never collate all of that and publish an extras like C.S. Picat did for Captive Prince trilogy? Like, all of those little extra stories got published. You can go get them either in ebook or physical form. I don't know why Nora Sakovic didn't do that for all of her Tumblr posts. She could have. People would have bought that. She should be making money from that, because that's where the ooh is. that's where the cute cat content is. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, on to the next one. 4.58. It's volume 10. Oh, then we've got volume 8 and volume 9, and it's 4.58, 4.57, 4.56. So pretty high for the last 3 volumes of Tomoko Yamashita, The Tri-Cornered Window, Night Beyond the Tri-Cornered Window. This is the digital series that I absolutely loved for years. But I've got to say, these last 3 volumes are not my favourite. I have given it 5 stars because it's Tomoko Yamashita and The Night Beyond the Tri-Cornered Window. I have to. But is it my favourite out of the rest of the series? No, the rest would be higher, in my opinion. But because these are the later volumes, because it does kind of wrap up the story, and they're really exciting. Volume 8 and 9 and part volume 10 is super exciting and anxiety inducing, and I absolutely loved it, and the characters are great. But it ends in a sort of ambiguous way, which I didn't mind, but also at the same time, if she popped out a volume 11 tomorrow, I wouldn't be mad at it. If it was the continued adventures, I wouldn't be mad at it. I would continue to read it and I would continue to love it. So, yeah, she could carry on with this. I think we'd all be happy. I think this could be the longer running series, but 10 volumes is quite a long one for it. For a BL that's not really BL, and that was the thing. So many said that it wasn't BL enough. But the first few volumes are very much that, and then the later volumes is all about the deeper feelings and stuff. So I'm not surprised. But yeah, I wouldn't rate these as high on the list as others. We've got another 2 here that are big hitters in the BL world, so I'm really glad to see they're so high up. The first one is Therapy Game Restart. So of course it's the later one in the series by Meguru Hinohara with a 4.57, super high. I love this. I love it. It's just got everything I love. It's got feels, it's got cute chibis, it's got smexy erotic, it's got sensuality, it's got gorgeous artwork, fantastic characters, a great setting. All in all, it's perfect for me. I love it. I cannot deny. I'm so looking forward to volume 2 coming out. I don't think it's coming out this month. I think it's got a wee while to go yet for the UK. Oh, so good. She does good work. Hinohara, she does good work. Now, the next one after, Twittering Birds Never Fly, Volume 5 by Yoneda Ko. 4.55. I am not surprised that this particular volume is the one that's the highest on the list. Not gonna lie. There's a reason for that. If you've read it and you know the series, you're probably thinking, oh, is this the volume that they and that's the volume when they and then he's like, oh, and he's like, oh, and then all shit breaks, loose and hits the fan and all of those idioms. Oh yeah, it's that one. And it's that volume. Volume 5. It's the one where we all lost our shit. We lost our goddamn minds. It was so good. And yet so heartbreaking. And all of the feels, when I say all of the feels, this is it. It's kind of in a way, it's got the same kind of all for the game kind of feeling, because you're feeling all of the feels and not all of them are nice feels, this series. And I don't know why I feel, well, I have a soft spot for all for the game too. But this one is love, it's pure love. It's Yoneda Ko though, so the artwork also plays a part in how much we respond. It's a visual form, it's a visual medium, so that might make a difference to how I feel about it. I love it, it's so good. Definitely worthy of 5 stars, so definitely worthy of the 4.5 if you are into Twittering Birds, then volume 5 was the big one for you. Then we've got another volume of Heartstopper. Volume 1, still a 4.5. 4. That is ridiculous. So the majority of people who are reading this are enjoying it. So it's overall a good series. The whole series is here in the top between a 4 and a 5 star. Between a 4.5 and a 5 star. So that's pretty good overall. Then we've got another one, which is the 5th volume in the series. So once again, the later volumes, and that's I Hear the Sunspot, Volume 5, which is the 3rd volume of Limit, and a 4.53. I give it a 5-star, obviously. Yuki Fumino is currently writing the 6th volume, and I will pre-order that as soon as it gets announced by One Piece Books. One Piece Books, I think, must be just so grateful that they picked this one up. It's probably the thing that's keeping them afloat, because I have not heard of any other One Piece Books manga that I would be like, oh yeah, I want to read that. No, I have no idea what else they publish. Just this. And if it's their bread and butter, it's the best bread and the best butter you can buy. The next one is quite an odd one for me. Our Dining Table by Mita Ori, 4.53. I did like it though. I gave it 5 stars, so it's worth it. It's a cute story. It's a sweet story. It's about 2 guys. One who's got funny feelings towards food and eating in front of people, and a guy who has to look after his brother once his mother has passed away, and the two of them getting on. And they're getting it on, and I loved it. It was super cute. It is very family oriented. Nice. Then we've got an OG kind of one, Don't Be Cruel Volume 9 by Nekota Yonezo, a 4.53. That's high as well. But this one is good because it's them getting to the stage where some of the issues have been resolved, and so it's kind of like the last bit of issues and kind of a bit more drama about their relationship, and then hopefully them getting a bit more happiness, maybe sorting it out and being a bit more grown up. And that's kind of the maturity of the mangaka as well as the audience. So yeah, and more Hinohara Therapy Game Volume 2. And then we've got another one here, Forgotten Vows. Oh no, it's Lily Mayne. This is book 2 in the folk series. I am not gonna lie. The first book, which I think is quite high up as well, because it's just cottagecore for 95%, and then the last 5%, all hell breaks loose. It goes to pot, and you're just left with this massive cliffhanger. So everyone who had read that, who probably were thinking, yeah, this is like a 3.5, maybe a 4. And then you get to the last percentage and people just were amazed, astounded, shocked. And so everyone has to pick up Forgotten Vows so they can find out what happens next. It's a big deal. And when you've got that much investment already, the readers are there. They're in the palm of your hand, Lily Mayne. They're right there. They obviously want to give this a high rating, so I'm not surprised. I gave it a 4. If I was going to, I'd probably say a 4.25, if I'm honest, if I was making it smaller increments. Not quite a 5 for me. But I did enjoy this one. There was a lot more to it than the last one. But the first one did have just a general vibe, and I was jealous. It's a cottage next to a forest, got your own chickens, you're doing spells and baking bread and, making food and having baths in front of the fire and just loving your fae assassin boyfriend. It's great. It's a great one. The next one is Blue Morning, Volume 8. And that is the last one in the series. So once again, the final volume. And this is when everything gets resolved, and also you're like, yeah, please be together and be okay. Hidaka Shoko is beautiful author. Such wonderful drawings, but also such delicate emotions. Being able to present that in her drawings, in just the subtlety of the lines, and so much emotion can come across, even though she doesn't do too much to an expression, and it's like, wow. And I absolutely love this. And I haven't done a standalone reviewing BL manga video for it because I just can't. I love it so much that to sit down and list how it is fantastic would probably not ever be enough to actually say how fantastic it is. I love it. I just love it. It's got everything I love about books. It's historical. It's got political machinations. It's got intrigue. It's got twists and turns. It shocks me here, there, and everywhere. And it's also got a lovely love story as well. So, so good. 4.51. I'm really happy it's up there. Really happy it's up there. Let's see. Have we got some more 4.5 ones? There we go. Wow, that is a weird one. I give a 3-star. What? I give this a this is the first one we've come across that I don't agree with. What? Liam Kingsley. Okay, so hear me out. When was it? 2020? 2020 maybe? Or maybe it was I don't know when. I think it was 2020. I read almost everything that Liam Kingsley has written. And this is obviously volume 13, so everyone who's read all of the other volumes is going to give this a high score. But I remember this one I didn't like. Out of all of his works, this is not the one I like, because it involves a soldier coming home, which I'm not really a fan of. I don't really like, because there's always an element of PTSD and war, and it's kind of a glorification of soldiers. And I think soldiers are fantastic. I think people who have to go and do this for their country they're amazing, but also at the same time, so much of I'm kind of anti-war and anti-conflict, but a lot of soldiers, they do peacekeeping missions and things. So yeah, there's definitely like a bit of disconnect for me, because I don't really necessarily want to see that in a male romance. And this one, he has to look after, I think, a baby or a child, and so it's that whole new father thing, which is kind of cute, but with the whole ex-soldier thing too. I think that's what it was all about. Anyway, this definitely wasn't my favourite. I had other ones that were much, much more enjoyable for me. Another given one, which is really high because this is the first volume, so everyone who's reading it as a first volume is giving it pretty high ratings. And then we're into the 4.5s, which is when I was going to stop. So we've got More Given, volume 3 at 4.5. And then we've got, wow, is this Hoshino Zoo by Koyama? This is the only Futekia title. So this is obviously the best, highest rated Futekia title that I've come across. I only gave it 4 stars, but I did love it. It was great. It's personification of the animals. So the animals are interacting, but then it's almost like we can see them as people because one of the characters is a human, and that's how he sees animals. Or he can hear them anyway, talking like humans. And so he can interact with them, and then we see them as the viewer, as the reader, as personifications. So they might have an interesting suit on, even though they're not. It's like a animal print suit or something. On the cover, they've got, I think it's the giraffe. The giraffe story was cute. So yeah, that's an interesting one. I thought I would just stop at 4.5, but now I kind of want to see what else is there. Just a wee quick scroll. We've got more twittering words. And there's the last volume of the Big Bad Wolf series by Charlie Adhara, 4.49. Pretty high. I obviously give it 5 stars. Very enjoyable. Looking forward to Pack of Lies, which comes out at the end of August. And there's Mortal Skin, the first one. Basically cottagecore. And I want to live in a cottage by the wood. And there's my first BL one, which is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. And it's 4.48, and that is really high for something that's obviously been reviewed millions of times. Like, I'm pretty sure it's like over 1 million people who've read and reviewed it. It's ridiculous. And then my first one that I'm really very happy about, Subtle Blood, is the 3rd volume in the Will Darling adventures. KJ Charles, if you haven't already, check out her work. It's so good, so good. I'm unfortunately running out of things of hers to read. I will eventually have to do reading all of KJ Charles's works video, and I will enjoy going through all of her works again. More Charlie Adhara, more Twittering Birds, more Night Beyond. Oh, here we go. One that's a bit odd. I only give it 3 stars here. This is a men's health charity anthology And not all of the stories in it did I feel interested in reading, but the ones that I did read, I only rated 3-star, so I only gave it 3 stars. But everyone else has rated it really highly, so maybe the other stories were worth reading, but they weren't male romance. And this was, once again, it was like soldiers, I think. A lot of them were like heroes. There you go. The next one is the 7th book. It says volume 4, but it's the volume 4 of the spin-off series. So this is the 7th book in the 8 volume series, Peregrine, by Piper Scott and Virginia Kelly. And I, as you can see, I've read it how many times? It says 3 times. This might be accurate. I may have, yeah, I think maybe 3 or 4. Which I did put down. But yeah, 4.45 is pretty good for Peregrine. It's an interesting one as well. It's one about it's Mpreg. And I know a lot of people don't like Mpreg, and I was very much like, nope, not interested. When I was probably early 20s, I was like, nah, not going to do that. Not interested at all. Mainly because someone said, oh, you should check out this fic. You really like it? And I was like, all right, what's it about? And they went, it's a Hunter one. You can see where I'm going. So it was a fanfic with the Hunter characters, Gon and Killua. And it was Mpreg, and I was like, oh my god, stop now. Yeah, so that wasn't to my taste, and that probably coloured my view on Mpreg for quite a long time. And this was definitely something I was like, dragons and Mpreg? No, you can fuck right off with that shit. And then I read it and was like, damn it! So I'm not surprised that this one is, because it is the latest one in the series, and it does deal with a lot of female issues. So sometimes you can read something, and that's one of the theories about male romance, and how some women, no matter what their gender or sexuality, can enjoy exploring traumatic issues like assault, or like childbirth and labour, and trying to get pregnant when you can't, and feeling coerced and forced, and all these kinds of feelings that women do experience. And so as a means to explore their trauma, this is just a theory that some people have put forward. I'm not saying that this is true or not, but this book does deal, so I'm giving you trigger warnings anyway, a lot to do with sexuality, but with the desire to be pregnant, the desire to have children, the social expectations to give birth. It also deals with the trauma of miscarriage, and the trauma of childbirth, and the trauma of infertility. It does have like literally all of the spectrum of anything to do with trauma and pregnancy, or having children. It deals with all of them, and I still came out of it crying my eyes out. Obviously, obviously, I cry every time I read Peregrine, every single time, and it's because you can empathize even if you haven't given birth yourself. So it's a good one. It's a good one. More Given, more Blue Morning, more C.S. Pacat. King's Rising, pretty high for The Captive Prince Volume 3, which was not my favourite. Volume 2 was my favourite. I loved Volume 2, it was great. And then the graphic novel Check Please, the second book, so obviously that's another one that people are really enjoying and loving. And then, of course, Volume 2 of My Love Mix-Up. We haven't got more than Volume 4 at the moment, so 9 volumes. This one's pretty high for a second volume in the series. There we go. I knew there was other ones. Oh, there we go. There's another one. There we go. I knew there would be a high-rated Liam Kingsley. Because Liam Kingsley, he's not really well known, I don't think. Maybe he is. If you were a fan of Liam Kingsley, let me know. Because most of his stories are like werewolf shiftery type ones. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go down that route. And I found that I really enjoyed his structure, his sentence structure, the way he lays out his stories. They're good, solid stories. The way that he writes, I read his stories and then it gives me hope that I could write something, because it's polished, but it's polished really, really well. He follows a structure, and I'm totally happy with the structure. It's a good structure. So he's an incredibly competent writer. And I find that the books that he writes, or at least the newer ones, are generally very entertaining. Shane's Hope, Volume 12, not a big fan. It was okay, so I gave it 3 stars. So that's not the same as everyone else's. But Volume 8, Lawful Mates, I really do enjoy it. And this is actually one, and it's good to see this year, that I gave it 5 stars because I really enjoyed it. But it's something that I'm discovering about myself. So it's good that I'm seeing this. It's reaffirming another part of my reading, which is that I really do enjoy detective murder mystery type stories. This story, Lawful Mates, involves a PI who is asked to investigate the disappearance of a young man who happens to be gay. And he also happens to be the son or the stepson, I can't remember if he's the son or the stepson, of a senator. Now, the senator is afraid that he's going to be accused of getting rid of this young man because of either his bad behavior or his gayness, I don't know. So he hires a law firm to represent him and to, in a way, scupper any kind of investigations, head off anything that might be detrimental to his career. And the law firm is owned by this man who's not particularly nice, and he asks his adult son to represent the senator, even though the adult son doesn't want to. And he ends up meeting the PI to hand over like an exchange of information, or at least that's how it's kind of put. And of course, it turns out that these two guys who are kind of on the opposite side of things, i.e., rivals or enemies, are fated mates, which is how a lot of the Timberwood Cove or the Blackwater Pack, they all have these mates. It's all that kind of thing. So yeah, they're like these two guys who have a bit of a rivalry, but they have to work together. So it's that close proximity, enemies, and also a mystery that needs to be solved. And I love that because there was so much more in the story than Liam Kingsley's usual fare. There was a really nice through thread of the story, and you had to follow it to find out, who done it, what happened to the boy, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, whoo, trying to work it out. So it was a mystery as well as the romance, which is more than what his other stories were, which is probably why I rated it so highly. And that's what I'm looking for more of. So if you know any good detective or murder mystery or just mystery stories that have an Achillean romance or even just gay characters, a bit of like the main character or protagonist or something, that would be good. So some recommendations. I think that's all I'm going to talk about because we're getting still in the force where there's loads, and there's probably going to be a lot more. So yeah, that's everything in the top rated books that I've read, and they're all great, and I would recommend them all. Well, not all of them, not all of them, but most of them. Don't think I'll ever recommend All for the Game to anyone. If you want to read it, it's up to you. You take your chances, you deal with it. And also those Liam Kingsley ones. Lawful Mates, definitely, for sure, I recommend that. It was a good one. It was a good one. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I'm 365821. I make videos about mainly romance, BL manga, yaoi, all that good stuff. I hope you liked this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. And I hope you're doing well. Have a good day. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!